Hey, good morning. I'm Paige Browning. It's Tuesday. This is Seattle Now. In King County and several other parts of Washington, the IRS has extended the tax filing deadline to May 1st due to December's flooding. But for most of the country, tax day is Wednesday, and a lot of us are thinking about our personal finances lately. Coming up, we'll get some tax tips and other financial advice from Seattleite Tori Dunlap, founder of Her First 100K. But first, let's get you caught up. Will Seattle fund shelters today? Today, the City Council votes on whether to fund and operate 500 new shelter beds, all part of Mayor Katie Wilson's plans to open 1,000 new shelter beds by the end of this year. The beds could be in new shelters, expansions of existing housing, or takeovers of apartments. The council votes in its 2 p.m. meeting. It's a good time to lock in summer plans to the San Juan Islands or Whidbey Island. Summer is high season on the islands, and ferry reservations open today at 10 a.m. The reservations are specifically for cars going on the Port Townsend Coupeville and Anacortes San Juan Islands routes after June 13th, and you do need to reserve both ways. The ferry system will take reservations 2 weeks or 2 days before you plan to sail, but don't bank on getting a standby spot the day of. And Seattle's first step onto the big international soccer stage this year gets going tonight. It's not the Men's World Cup. That starts this summer. It's the women's game. Tonight, the U.S. women's national team takes on Japan at Lumen Field in a friendly match. It's the U.S. team's first game in Seattle since 2017. This game is number 2 in a 3-game series, with the U.S. up 1 win. That starts at 7 p.m. We'll be back with more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. Tax day is tomorrow. Here in Washington state, many of us got a little bit of a reprieve. Due to the floods in December, the IRS has pushed the filing deadline to May 1st for several counties, including King, Pierce, and Snohomish. Tax season is when many of us take stock of our finances, our debt, our spending habits, how much we're bringing in. And those look different by gender. Here in Washington, the gender wage gap is the second largest in the country and growing. Tori Dunlap is a Seattle-based author and the founder of Her First 100K. Her podcast on personal finance is called Financial Feminist. Tori sat down with Patricia Murphy to talk practical financial advice and a whole lot more.
Tori, really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. It's the best day of the year.
Tell me a little bit about your origin story here. What got you started in this work?
I was graduating college in 2016 and coming into adulthood in what I thought would be a country with our first female president. And of course, that did not happen. And so I started being the friend all of my friends were coming to for advice and guidance around money. But I majored in theater and organizational communication in college. This was not my career plan. I was working my 9-to-5 in marketing, but it was a super toxic job. It was very masculine. I was getting sexually harassed. I was watching other women friends of mine at work getting sexually harassed, and just realized, I can't quit because I don't have enough money. I can't leave. And that was the impetus of me realizing, when I have money, I have options. When I have money, I have the ability to quit the job, start the business, donate to causes I believe in. And so started my business, Her First 100K, on the side of my 9-to-5 in marketing. And since then, we've helped really change the narratives around the way we view money as women, but also the way we view women with money.
And your work focuses specifically on women. Say more about why you think this is important.
Yeah, I mean, no one really gets a financial education, regardless of gender identity, right? Unfortunately, financial literacy is not really a thing unless you have parents like mine to teach them. And I thought that that was the reality for everybody because I didn't know any different. I thought, everybody knows not to overspend on credit cards. Everybody knows how to save money. And of course, that's not the case. So with that privilege, for me, came a responsibility of this education. So men uniquely are allowed to both talk about and pursue money in a way that women aren't. We see this in the data. We see this just anecdotally. Like, men are having conversations about their stocks, right? They're having conversations about their portfolio or the bonuses that they brought in or the amount that they have saved. They're a lot more socially aware of money, and it's a lot more socially acceptable for men to discuss money and to pursue money. Versus women, we actively demonize women for the pursuit of money, when really, again, women don't want money. They just want the options that it benefits. And when you look at financial advice that is geared towards men versus women, the advice for men is very good. It is make more money. It is negotiate your salary, get a bonus at work, invest in the stock market, invest in real estate. The advice for women still in 2026 is coupon clip. Stop buying lattes, right? It's very gendered advice. And unfortunately, we deem a lot of feminine purchases to be frivolous, right? Again, the latte or the Taylor Swift tickets or the manicures. But hobbies that men have stereotypically, NFL season tickets, video games, golf clubs, none of those things are considered frivolous. So this is some of the stuff we're up against as women, is not only is nobody receiving a financial education, but women just have these certain barriers where it's less socially acceptable to pursue money, but also to talk about it.
Part of your story, Tori, is that you were able to save $100,000 by age 25, hence your company's namesake. How did you do it?
Yeah. The first thing is I graduated debt-free from college, and I think it's always really important to talk about that. That was a combination of my parents having saved a little bit of money for me, but also I was working 3 jobs on campus. We were having conversations together about like, how do we get through this debt-free? And we squeaked by like the skin of our teeth. But if I had student debt, would not have hit my 100K nearly as quickly. Everything else, though, is something anybody listening can do. One, I set aside a portion of my salary every single month or every single paycheck, and I set it on autopilot. So I automated my savings. I set up an automatic transfer from my checking account to my savings account that happened without having to think about it. So rather than waiting to the end of the month to save, I did it literally before the money even like came into my account. The second thing I did is I was really focused on what I call value-based spending. Still figuring out the things that you love and spending pretty unabashedly on those things, but cutting everything else. So a lot of people hear that 100K story and they're like, oh, you lived on oatmeal and never went anywhere, right? And you had 6 roommates. And the truth is I lived alone in Seattle where, you know, my rent at the time was $1,500. I traveled internationally. I went out to eat, but I was very particular about what I did or did not spend my money on. The third thing was I negotiated my salary at every single job. So I was making sure that if I felt like my pay was capped, I was looking for a new opportunity. And when I got that new opportunity, I was negotiating my salary every step of the way. And the fourth thing was I invested. 22, I opened up a Roth IRA. I started investing, so I had compound interest working for me. And you can do this with just a small amount of money, $25, $50 a month, even less than that if that's all you've got right now. I think this misconception that like I need to already be rich in order to invest, or I need a bunch of money for it to actually make a difference. You don't. You want compound interest on your side.
All right. For a lot of people, tax season can be fairly overwhelming. What is your number one tip for keeping it real?
Hire an accountant. I'm going to be honest with you.
No TurboTax?
Honest with you. No, I mean, accountants, are sometimes expensive. I will say I'm a financial expert. I've never done my own taxes. I've never done them because it feels like one of those things where if I can pay a little bit of money for somebody to do it properly and save me a bunch of money long term, and God forbid, which actually did happen a couple of years ago, if I get audited, I need somebody in the ring with the IRS so I don't have to be, right? So I love accountants. Like, there's a reason they exist. I think they're so helpful for this. If you aren't going to go with an accountant, I would really think, as painful as it is, about prepping for tax season year long rather than just in the mad dash of the 2 days before tax day. If you can be saving your receipts, if you can be creating financial systems for yourself where there isn't this mad dash the weekend before to try to get your financial ish together, like if you can think about, okay, every month I have this sort of system for my money or for my expenses that you can either hand over to an accountant or hand over to one of those, more digital platforms. It's going to make your life so much easier than that mad dash at the end.
I'm trying not to reveal too much of my mad dash here, but it's usually to TurboTax, and it's usually a wing and a prayer, sis. I think I'm like a lot of people. You have written about making a plan for your tax refund rather than just treating it like free money. How do you think about tax refunds?
I try to avoid them at all costs, which kind of seems crazy. But if you're getting a tax refund, really what's happened is you've loaned the government money for 10, 11 months. That is your money. I think a lot of people get this tax refund and it's maybe the biggest lump sum of money that they've seen in a while. And they go, oh my gosh, it feels like free money. It feels like I just, passed go, collected $200. It's amazing. But the truth is, that's your money. That's your hard-earned money, and you worked really hard for it. So we want to think strategically about next year. Actually, how do we avoid getting a refund so we collect more money in our pocket every single month as opposed to this huge windfall? If you do get a tax refund this year, please use it responsibly. Now, I'm not the financial expert who's going to tell you you can't have fun, you can't treat yourself. Treat yourself a little bit. Absolutely. Life is hard. The world is a mess. Please do that. But you do want to have something to show for all of that hard work, right? Really, in a way, the government was just like keeping your money for 11 months and then they gave it back to you, right? And so they might have done you a favor of preventing you from blowing it all on stuff that you'll regret. So it might be a good time to beef up your emergency fund if you have that available to you. It might be a good time to pay down your debt. Or it might be a good time to pay some of your bills that are outstanding. So use your hard-earned money that, again, you worked really hard for. Have something to show for it.
Many people are in debt. It's increasing across the U.S. What do you say to people who ask for advice about how to climb out of debt?
The first thing to understand is that if you have debt, you are not a failure. And I know this sounds like woo-woo advice.
It's a lot of shame. You're right.
There's so much shame. If I were to go on the street of Seattle right now, like walk outside my door and ask 100 people how they feel about money, it's very rarely like joy or freedom. It is shame, guilt, anxiety. And debt, I think, is the worst culprit. So the first thing you have to understand is there was probably a really good reason you took on debt. A lot of debt is actually a tool to get you to where you want to be. When I graduated college, I could not afford to buy a car. I bought a certified pre-owned car, but I had to take out a loan to do that. That was me leveling up. You go to college, you take on student loans. There are so many things that are considered shameful where they're actually the best tool we have for leveling up in our financial lives. The second thing is that not all debt is created equal. There's some debt that has super high interest rates or the way it compounds is really high. Credit cards are the worst of this, right? So if we can think about labeling our debt and really getting honest about how much is there. So you're going to look at your debt, you're going to label it by interest rate and then by amount. So, okay, this credit card has a 25% interest rate. I have $10,000 in debt on that credit card. This credit card has 18% interest, but $20K. We're actually going to work to pay down the debt with the highest interest rate because it's the one that's costing us the most money. So even if the balance isn't highest, we're looking for the highest interest rate.
We mentioned this a little bit at the top there. Everybody wants to save more, which is in this economy easier said than done. Give me a quick and dirty formula for saving more.
Yeah. So I am not the personal finance expert that's going to come on here and be like, you have to save 20% or 30% or whatever percent of your salary because personal finance is personal. I mean, living in Seattle, we know it's a very high cost of living area. You might have children. Daycare is like a second mortgage at this point. Like there's a lot of costs that are really high. So what I would recommend finding is what I call your sticky number. Your sticky number is the number that you can automate, right? We were talking about automating your savings before. That is a little bit sticky, meaning that you are not completely depriving yourself of everything joyful, but you're also not spending money on everything you want, right? It feels a little sticky. So for me, when I was working my 9-to-5 job, it was like, okay, I want to go out to eat once or twice a week. That's my sticky number. I'm not depriving myself, but if I go out more than that, that's where it's going to be a little difficult. So that was my balance. 2 really, really good hacks for everybody listening are 1, if you don't have a high yield savings account, you need one. A high yield savings account is just like an everyday savings account, except it's going to offer you more in interest. We're seeing, the average high yield savings account pay like 3% when the average bank account generally in the US pays 0.3%. So that's a massive increase for you doing nothing else. And the second thing you can do is negotiate your bills. This shocks people. I save like $5,000 a year by negotiating my car insurance, negotiating my phone bill. So there are ways that you can think about, okay, what is the money I'm already spending and how do I make this even cheaper?
Now, financial literacy isn't something that everyone's exposed to. Let's talk a little bit about some money myths that you hear frequently from people.
Yeah. One of the most common ones is that keeping a balance on your credit card boosts your credit score. It doesn't. It just puts you in debt. It's a complete myth. Don't do it. The second one is that investing is just for rich people, or that it's too late for me to get started investing. I hear that a lot. I'm 31. Our predominant group of people and women that we work with is like 25 to 45, but we have plenty of women 50 plus in our community who think, well, I have nothing saved for retirement, so it's too late for me. What's the point? No, it's so actually crucial that as you inch towards retirement, you do everything you can to save money, even if it's not perfect and not the exact amount you wanted. Yeah, I could go on, but those are some of the most common ones I see.
What is something that you really think everyone should know when it comes to money?
Money is not about math. Again, I hear from women all the time, oh, I'm just not good with numbers. Guys, I majored in theater. I majored in theater and communication, okay? It's not about math. It's about your emotions. It's about your psychology. We all can point to probably dozens and dozens of times that we made emotional purchases, right? Or that we made emotional decisions with our money. You can think about people pulling their money out of the stock market when things got a little stressful. You think about, spending somehow $250 on Instagram and you've just like blacked out and you have no idea what just happened, right? Like all of these things have nothing to do with, how good you are with calculations, and everything to do with how well you're managing your own emotions. So this is actually the best tool at your disposal to be really, really good with money.
Tori Dunlap is the founder of her first 100K. Her podcast is called The Financial Feminist. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Seattle Now. Hey, before we go today, we are always looking to improve the show, and we do that by listening to you, our audience. So if you're interested in participating in a focus group for our show, we've got a short survey to fill out. It's in the show notes, and when you do, we'll get in touch about how to join our focus group. Thanks as always to our generous donors for all your support. If you can give a few bucks today, that goes a long way for us. A free way to support us right now is by rating or reviewing the show on your podcast app. We love hearing from you. Today's episode was produced by Andy Hurst. It was edited by Caroline Chamberlain Gomez. Our production team also includes Vaughn Jones, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Patricia Murphy. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Paige Browning. Talk to you tonight for Evening Headlines.